Hello, this is William Abel, and this is Common Sense. I'd like to thank GCD Network for helping sponsor this program. Also, if you'd like, you can go ahead and help donate and to help offset some of the costs of the show on Cash App at $Abel, ABEL, TX31. Every and any contribution is greatly appreciated. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about a lot of these members of Congress that have been there for 20, 30, 40 years and all the wasteful spending that's coming out. We're also going to talk about all the foreign countries that own U.S. land. Now, the last report I have is from 2021. However, you do have a lot of, there are some other ones that just have not been reported or they haven't reported it since. So let me get, here we go. So article from January 17, 2024, how much U.S. land and property is foreign owned. And this comes from the nationaldesk.com. So according to this report, Chinese billionaire is now the second biggest foreign owner of U.S. land, owning 198,000 acres of timberland in Oregon. The billionaire Chen Tinaku is the founder of an online gaming company. According to the latest data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, foreign investors and companies own over 40 million acres of U.S. agricultural land, which is about 1.8% of all land in the U.S. and 3.1% of all privately held agricultural land. While this does not sound like much, foreign investors are purchasing more land than they used to. In fact, between 2010 and 2021, foreign-owned agricultural land increased by 15.8 million acres. Canadian investors own the most land, 31%, followed by Netherlands, Italy, the United Kingdom, and Germany. China ranks 18th on the list, owning 0.3% of U.S. agricultural land. Almost half of the states have restrictions on foreign ownership, like prohibiting certain groups and countries from buying land. The Senate tried to pass a federal measure to ban countries like Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran from buying farmland beyond a certain acreage, but it was never signed into law. Agricultural land is not the only thing foreign buyers are invested in. According to a report from the National Association of Realtors, international buyers snatched up $53.3 billion worth of residential properties from April 2022 to March 2023. It seems like a lot, but the number is down 9.6% from the previous year. During this period, 84,600 homes were sold, which is a 14.2% decrease from the previous year and marks the lowest number since 2009. That number also only accounts for 1.8% of the 4.73 million existing home sales in the U.S. 13% of foreign buyers were from China, followed by Mexico, 11%, Canada, 10%, India, 7%, and Colombia, 3%. The top destinations for foreign buyer purchases were Florida, 23%, California, 12%, Texas, 12%, North Carolina, 4%, Arizona, 4%. Restrictions on foreign real estate purchases vary by state. Florida recently enacted a law that limits some foreign buyers, China, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, Syria, and Venezuela, from owning property in the state. 13 other states passed similar laws in 2023. While around half of states ban or limit foreign ownership of farmland, at least 6 of the states that passed laws recently, Arkansas, Florida, Louisiana, North Dakota, Tennessee, and Utah, expand that to all property. And I'm going to show you. Let's go. So this is the last chart I was able to get from the Department of Agriculture, and it shows once again Canada with over 12 million acres, Netherlands with 4 million acres, Germany with 2 million, Italy with 2 million, 2,703,000, United Kingdom with 2,537,000, Portugal, 1,482,000. France with 1,315,000. Japan with 636. Sweden with 688,000 acres, and China with 383,000 acres. However, this is all broken down by value. So the value of the land that they purchased was Canada 11 billion, Netherlands 6 billion, 6.8 billion, Germany 6.6 billion, Italy 5.3 billion, United Kingdom 4.9 billion, Portugal 3.3 billion, France 2.9 billion, Japan 2.9 billion, Sweden 2.4 billion, and then China's property, even though they have only 383 acres, it's worth $2.1 billion. Now, when we look at the list, the next chart is going to show who has the most U.S. agricultural land by total acres. So here we have Canada, which is 12.8 million acres. Netherlands, 4.8 million. Italy, 2.7 million. United Kingdom with 2.5 million. Germany, 2.2 million. Portugal, 1.4 billion or million. France, 1.3 million acres. Denmark, 856,000 acres. Luxembourg, 802,000 acres. And Ireland, 759 acres. Now, as I read in the one report, they have went ahead and start passing laws, but why wasn't something done earlier? The second any foreign country try buying land in the U.S., it should have been stopped. It should not have been let to get to this level. I mean, basically, they're just allowing the U.S. to be sold acre by acre to all these foreign countries. And the fact that China's owning land in the United States is a big issue. We're going to ban TikTok because, God forbid, China and the U.S., but yet we're going to go ahead and allow them to buy up our agricultural land. And we're going to go ahead and allow them to go ahead and buy residential property in the U.S. So for me, that makes no sense at all. But half the stuff this government does, it makes no sense. So now we're going to go into a lot of the wasteful spending. So I'm going to go and do a quick overview of the Festivus reports from 2016 through 2024. And then we're going to look at some of the stuff that Elon Musk has found within the federal government. And I'm going to bring all this up again because I know I do it a lot. Talk about a lot of the earmarks and stuff like that. Because we have our representatives up in D.C. Some of them have been up there 20, 30, 40 years. I know mine's been out there for about 23, 24 years now. And you're telling me that Rand Paul can somehow come out with these Festivus lists every year exposing all this wasteful spending that the federal government's doing. And he actually votes against the bills and a lot of the wasteful spending. So I will give him credit there, and I respect him for that. And Elon Musk came in and within 3 weeks was able to find all this corruption, all this wasteful spending with all these agencies. Congress constantly will talk about how they have the power of the purse strings. However, if they're just giving money out to people and they're not following up with what they're using that money for and how much money they actually need, that's a problem. But they don't care about that because what they do is they go ahead and they won't pass the 12 spending bills. That hasn't been done since the 90s. And they'll pass the omnibus bill. And they'll just throw money at whatever anybody wants. They'll give them the money because then they can go ahead and get their little pet projects done with their earmarks. Which, like I said, I've talked about that 100 times. And it's something that needs to be looked into and done. So let me go ahead and bring this up. I'm just going to touch on the highlights on these Festivus reports. I will have it up on screen so you can take a look at it. So we're going to start with the Festivus from 2016. So in 2016, his Festivus report found $1,404,471,000 of wasteful spending. Some of these include study people's experiences with sea monsters, invisible birds, and other supplementary activity. Helped regulate the Moldavian wine industry, lost cranes and bulldozers in Afghanistan, paid for a study of the gambling habits of Ugandans, paid a lease on medical equipment that sat for months not being used. That was from the VA. Paid for climate change models from 13 different agencies. That was multiple different agencies. Renovated cafeteria only to close it permanently months later. That was DOD, and that was $6 million. Paid to prepare the Philippines for rising sea levels. USAID, $24,700,000. Help people with the simplest tax returns file taxes because the U.S. tax code is so complicated. That was from the Treasury Department. That was $400 million. Then you got provided housing and meal stipends for persons on temporary duty for over a year. Justice Department, $54 million. We got paid for union activists, including providing them with office space government-wide. That was $159 million. Now we're going to move on to 2017. Let me go ahead and enlarge this just slightly. Oop. All right. So here we got $50,190,108,562.35 of wasteful spending. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these. Attempted to increase trust between Tunisian political parties and citizens. State, $2 million. Converting an abandoned mental hospital into DHS headquarters, GSA and DHS. That was $2,120,040,355.35. Supported green growth in Peru, USAID, $10 million. $5,303,624 to fix vehicles New York City falsely claimed Superstorm Sandy damage. That was FEMA. Increased capacity of the Pakistani film industry. State, that's $100,000. This one we got $48 billion for paid out billions from Medicare on improper payments. Taught English and IT skills to Madrasa. State, that was $150,000. Studied frog maiden calls in Panama, $466,991. Paid for Google Scholar searches in Hawaii, $51,222,000 or $1,107. And then paid for property confiscated in Afghanistan by the ANDSF. That was $325,485. That was in 2017. Now we're moving on to 2018. And this one we have a grand total of $114,514,631. Some of the highlights on this one: $76,321,379 provided stipends to soldiers in the Somali National Army. $13,400,000 promoted the already overcrowded farmers market industry. And then we got supported legislative priorities in Libya. That was $1 million. Got $18 million for supported Egyptian tourism. $2,488,153 studied daydreaming from NIH. Developed Fasho language TV drama series for Afghanistan. $653,014. So that one was from 18. So let's go to 19. So 19, we have total waste of 50,100,000,000. Oh, wait. Yeah, I already did that one. So, okay. Wasted taxpayer money. This one is 230,672,881. This is from 2019. This is the second page. So we got $153 million spent millions on the Washington Metro Area Transit Authority. We had $4,658,865 spent on studying the connection between drinking alcohol and winding up in the ER. $16 million on improving the quality of Egyptian schooling. That's another quality program from USAID. Bought textbooks for Afghan students, USAID. That's $33,921,175. And $22 million on bought Serbian cheese up to brought Serbian cheese up to international standards. That's USAID. And let's see, 2019. This is the third page. So let's see what we got here on this page. We got $42,680,849 spent. And some of the stuff this was spent on was we got $15,825,000 sent international students to college for free. That was from the State Department. Study the habits of online dating app users. That's $1,200,000. $20 million on loud and loations. Improve the quality of TV in Moldova. $2 million. $2,711,000. $255. Allowing the 1033 program to be abused from DOD. And $649,773. Tested whether social justice improves STEM education. So now we're going into the 2020. So the waste of 2020, this is going to be, I believe, 2 pages. And we're going to end with a total of $54,746,524,505.37 wasted in this. So let me zoom in a little bit. And some of the items we have here is study if you'll eat ground up bugs. $1,327,781. As why stress makes hair turn gray. $36,831,620. Tries to get Eastern Mediterranean youth to stop smoking hookah. It's $1,471,617. Use cancer research money to create a smart toilet. $6,973,057. And then we got finding an allegedly fake study linking e-cigarettes to heart attacks. $31,522,224. We got $217 million spent. It gave federal employees duplicative Medicare customer service access. We got $57,684,000. Appointed millions to the urban Indian health programs. Then we got $3,496,302,352. Waited for years on delinquent undelivered orders. VA. Then we got $8,620,000,000 spent billions in Afghanistan on counter narcotic efforts, which was a huge failure. Then we got spent millions that helped deal with truant Filipino youth, $37,500,000. We got $10 million going to spend 5 years monitoring elections in Zimbabwe. $2 million seeks to start a venture capital fund for bad investments. $48 million to help disconnected Tunisian youth not feel like a problem. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stuff under environment, energy, science. We got $13,545,889.40 funds the Bowdoin Infrastructure Grant Program. $129,956,625. Public transit buses for localities. We got $1,304,454. Subsidize an insect ranching company's R&D efforts. $2 million spent to develop a wearable headset to track eating behaviors. We got $23,900,000,000 spent decades trying unsuccessfully to replace the Bradley. $110 million bungled building a drone base in Niger. $1 billion response COVID response funds for unrelated acquisitions. $718,800,000 lost equipment designated for Syrian fighting ISIS. We got $174 million for lost drones over Afghanistan. And then build a police complex lacking power that is not used. $3,100,000 for that. Then we go into the miscellaneous category where we got $19,999,869 spent to rebuild a taxiway for airplanes on Nantucket Island. $10,502,997.50 for bought COVID test tubes but received unusable soda bottles. Bought vehicles for state and local law enforcement agencies. That was $53,900,000. Built 3 bicycle storage facilities at DC Metro Station. $5,966,180,000 or $180. We got $16,500,000,000 for allowed states to take advantage of the TANF rules. And that was passed by Congress. That was pushed forward by Congress. And then overspent on prefab housing and water pumps in Texas, FEMA, that was $182 million. So now we're going to go into 21. This, it had over $52.5 billion of wasteful spending. So we're going to just try and run through this real quick. Foreign countries use their aircraft for free for 4 years, $773 million. $2.4 billion in U.S. constructed buildings in Afghanistan, left sitting unused. We got $4.29 billion ineligible and duplicate PPP loans. We got improper CARES Act unemployment insurance payments, $36 billion. We got $88 million for giving irrigation systems to Afghan farmers, left unused. That was another great project by USAID. We got $179 million for funding green energy programs in Africa. We got $3.4 billion attempting to replace an assault vehicle over 2 decades. $400 million for planting trees in New York City. Oh. And let's see. We got $4,200,000,000 Social Security overpayments to beneficiaries in fiscal year 2019. All right. Wasteful spending in 22. We got $4.5 billion going to giving ineligible citizens COVID economic injury disaster grants. $475 billion interest payments on the debt. We got $1.7 billion maintaining 7,700 empty federal buildings. We got $175 million expanding the Washington, D.C. streetcar that's rarely used and unreliable. Helping illegal immigrants avoid deportation from the Department of Homeland Security, $168 million. $77 million on mismanaged and untracked fuel purchases. Subsidizing the free New York Staten Island ferry at $70 million. $69 million going to overpaying government contractors for a terminated contract. We got $50 million for boosting the Tunisian travel sector during COVID-19. $17 million for unused hotel rooms for illegal immigrants. And that's DHS. So that's just some of the ones there. And this was for 2022. So it was $482 billion, $276,543,907. Wasteful, the waste of 2023, over $900 billion. This one, you had a portion of $800 billion. Barbie doll photo used to get COVID PPP funds. $659 billion for in the red interest. Our national debt is expensive. $33 million for Dr. Fauci's monkey business on NIH's Monkey Island. $6 million to boost Egyptian tourism from USAID. $38 million government pays dead people again. $89 million for how to ruin expensive military equipment Part 1 engines. $12.6 million for transmissions and $68 million on tank treads. NIH's meth head monkeys portion of $12 million. $400 million Treasury's pot of cash for political campaigns. You had $200 million for SBA's ticket to backstage. $236 billion. Improper federal payments. And $171,000 to study gambling monkeys. 24, we had already went through previously. I'm now going to get into some of the tweets and some of the stuff that was exposed by Elon Musk. So this is the for fiscal year 2024, we were in a deficit of $532 billion. Same time period this year, we're at 838. That's an increase of 306. Biden Education Department spent over $1 billion on DEI grants. Federal government waste, fraud, and abuse. As of right now, what they found is that out of the department's total budget, they've been able to find 23.87% of waste, fraud, and abuse with the Treasury Department's budget. Labor, 11.68% of that is waste. Veterans Affairs, 10.33%. Agriculture, 9.76%. Health and Human Services, 8.87%. Education, 4.97%. Defense, 1.85%. Small Business Administration, 1.82%. Housing and Urban Development, 1.07%. Homeland Security, 0.89%. Social Security Administration, 0.79%. Transportation, 0.30%. Great coordination across 35 agencies over the last 2 days to terminate 199 wasteful contracts, saving $250 million, including a contract for Asia Pacific, Sri Lanka climate change mitigation, adoption, and resilience coordinator services for Forest Service. Workshop for intercultural communication, diversity dialogue, circle communicating across differences. Department of Education terminated 3 DEI training grants totaling $15 million. One of the institutions that previously hosted facility workshops entitled Decolonizing the Curriculum. In the past 48 hours, HHS canceled 62 contracts worth $182 million. These contracts were entirely for administrative expenses. None touched any healthcare programs. This included terminating a $168,000 contract for an Anthony Fauci exhibit at the NIH Museum. Updated data on DII-related contract cancellations with full details. So Bureau of Land Management, they had one contract. The ceiling value was $389,494, saving $169,712. You have CFPB, they had 2 contracts. totaling $19,999,995, saving same amount. Department of Agriculture had 11 DEI contracts worth $112,899,940, saving a total of $110,618,680. I'm just going to go over some of the bigger ticket ones here. Department of Health and Human Services had $59,345,341 with 15 DEI contracts. Terminating it saved $187,448. Let's see, we got FAA with 4 DEI contracts, spending $45,180,000. Terminating them, saved $45 million. Office of Personnel Management, 3 contracts, $516,805,392. Cancel those contracts, save $494 million, $956,233. So overall, with all these contracts eliminated, the contracts were worth $1,259,365,178. By terminating them when they did, they saved $1,060,792. Following up on the $45 million DEI scholarships in Burma, this has been canceled. So I'll zoom in for a second so you can go ahead and take a look at it for yourself. All right, we're going to move on. Those are saving the federal government approximately $1 billion a day, mostly from stopping the hiring of people in unnecessary positions, deletion of DI, and stopping improper payments to foreign organizations, all consistent with the president's executive orders. A good start, though this number needs to increase to $3 billion a day. The last time a comprehensive review on the federal government was completed in 1984, the budget was $848 billion. National debt was $1.6 trillion, and debt to GDP ratio was 38%. The budget is now $7 trillion. National debt is $35.3 trillion, and the debt to GDP ratio is 1.21 or 121.6%. So that's what we're looking at. Just to give you an idea of some of the wasteful spending that we're doing. I'm going to bring up and give you the current national debt. So currently we're at $36,463,778,000,000, and it continues to rise. My purpose for going over all of this today is because you have all these congressmen coming out now talking about, oh yeah, we're going to go ahead, we're going to fight, we're going to get rid of all this waste. But half of them have been there for 20, 30 years. Why is it just now they're doing this? As I've said before, Rand Paul, I went back to 2016, but he's been outspoken about a lot of this waste for years. But then you have them going ahead, and instead of doing the spending bills, the 12 individual spending bills, they do one large omnibus bill, and they do that so they can throw their pet projects in. And as I've talked about a million times before, like in the omnibus bill for 2024, it was 2023. There was $15 billion just in earmarks, and that included things like Michelle Obama hiking trail, the LGBTQ museum in New York City, the Great Blacks and Wax Museum in Baltimore City. These are money that our federal tax dollars should not be going to. I also talk about all the wasteful money that we use that we send to the United Nations, WHO, which we pulled out of, and they were actually about to send a check to the WHO, even though we had pulled out of it. And I hope that we stay out of it. I'd like to see us pull out of the United Nations too. That'd free up a lot of money. But I find it hypocritical that the government just recently went off and passed a bill to hire all these new IRS agents to go ahead and audit the American people. But the second the federal government starts getting audited and all their paydays and everything start going away, they don't like audits. It's like, how can you go ahead and sit there and tell the American people, hey, we're going to audit you. It's for your own good. It's to make sure everything's on the up and up. But when the federal government gets ready or starts getting audited, all of a sudden it's a threat to democracy. I mean, honestly, I'm loving this right now because when I retired from the Army in 2017, within 6 months after I retired, I got audited twice. I had 2 audits within a 6-month period. It's insane, but yet the federal government, they go on spending sprees, is buying condoms for Gaza and the Taliban and all the other wasteful spending that we had just went over. And they all turn a blind eye to it. So you got to ask yourself, is your representative actually going to do anything about all this wasteful spending? Or are they only going to do something about the wasteful spending that gets exposed to the public? Then act like they care about it, but make sure that nothing's ever really done. They just try and hide it more. Me personally, I believe that my representative, John Carter, he will do just that. He will go ahead and he will hide, or he'll come out and he'll be like, we're going to fight to go ahead and stop this. But then the stuff not exposed he's going to keep pushing through. Because that's how they do things in DC. Everyone's got dirt. Most of them are getting paid under the table. And I don't really see them changing business that much. They're only going to go ahead and come out on stuff that's exposed. And I mean, that's a lot like in 23, I went to the Trump rally in Waco, Texas. And John Carter was there, and he was sitting up on stage. Now, for a man that's been in Congress for about 22, 23 years now, when Trump said something about, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put term limits on members of Congress, he's sitting up there clapping like a trained seal. I don't know if he thinks term limits are going to be 50 years or not, because we all know he ain't going to live that long. But they're all phony. They're fake. And I dare you to go out and meet up with your representative if they show up in your district, because a lot of times they won't until election time. And that's only if they have to. And ask them about this kind of stuff. Ask them why they're just now doing something about it. Why did they do something about this years ago? Why have they continuously funded a lot of these programs? And if they didn't know where the money was, why ain't they using the power of oversight to go ahead and find out, hey, what do you need this $20 billion for? Give me a breakdown of where this money is going to, what it's being used for, and actually check up on it. That is one of their main jobs, and they fail to do it time and time again. So my time's about up here. I just wanted to thank GCD Network once again for helping sponsor this program. If you'd like to help sponsor this program, you can go ahead and donate through Cash App at $Abel, ABEL, TX31. Thank you very much once again. And until next week, God bless the United States, God bless Texas, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you and good night.